I decided to take some time to make a video and show off some vintage lighters in my cigarette lighter collection. These are all lighters that I've purchased over the years. I started collecting back in, I think it was 1997, thereabouts, being 2020 now. It's 23 years of cigarette lighter collecting. Started buying them actually, kind of by accident. I was at a little junk shop in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and there was an old lighter that caught my eye. Never really seen anything like it, so I bought it for probably $5 and took it home, took it apart, cleaned it up, got it working. I was impressed by the craftsmanship of this old lighter and the mechanics of it, and it was kind of cool to get it going again. So I scoured local antique shops and flea markets and would buy them where I saw them and take them apart, clean them up, get them working again. Um, Around that time, eBay became popular, and back then it was easy to buy large quantities of inexpensive lighters on eBay, and it got to the point where I was buying them faster than I can fix them up. So I started putting them in cases and just adding to the collection. I'm going to go through these cases and talk about a few that are interesting to me, and I hope you find this video interesting as well, and I promise you a surprise at the end. So this lighter here is a Ronson Standard. It was actually the first lighter I got and inspired me to start collecting lighters. When I purchased it from a little junk shop in Cambridge, it actually was covered in black enamel, but it was mostly scratched off in the center, and in the back you might be able to see where it's a little scuff there. But underneath the lacquer was shiny chrome. And this is, being the first one, inspired me to keep going. All different types of lighters. Here's a little promotional piece for Planters Peanuts. Thought it was kind of cool to have a little can with the lighter. This is a newer one, a butane lighter, probably from the late 80s. This is just the box it's in there. It looks just like that. Ronson was one of the major lighter manufacturers. They came out with a line of table models. This one is one of the more popular ones, also one of the more common ones. It's a Ronson Crown, has some silver plating on it. They made these in all different shapes. Here's another one called the Newport. For the longest time, I had just a King lighter. A friend of mine got me the matching Queen. Here's another Ronson table model called the Leona with some enamel on it. Watchers with a little built-in clock. This is a Dunhill silver-plated lighter. It's always interesting to think about the backstory. One of the things that attracted me to cigarette lighters is that back in the day, this was something that people carried with them just about everywhere they went. Their lighter, was kind of a personal statement. This one, I imagine, was given to a fiance, and it says, "I do you." Just a nice little sentiment. This is one of the earlier lighters in my collection, a gift from my dad, silver plated with a sterling silver embossed scene on a German lighter. This is a semi-automatic style lighter, which means that one movement lights it and another movement puts the flame out. This style, of course, being the most popular with collectors. Another example of the scene here. Little advertising lighters. Actually, this one does not have advertising on it, but a lot of times they would put some logo on the top. This is one of my favorite styles of lighters. It's an aluminum lighter from the 50s. It's actually two individual cigarette lighters attached in the center. It has a little screw-off cap, a flint wheel, and a filler cap. And it's two independent lighters. So on one side uses up all the fuel, you've got a backup right there. This particular one was made in two different styles, one with a screw-off cap and one with a lift-off cap. It's amazing that these things didn't get lost. Here's some lighters that have built-in flashlights. This one actually uses a battery to create heat to light the wick. This one, of course, a more traditional flint wheel. Interesting figural table lighters. This little guy lifts up his arm to expose his wick, which is actually burnt off, so he can be replaced there. And then the flint wheel on his backside would shower sparks. Kind of a funny design idea. Another lighter with a silver wrap. This is a French model. Some side press lighters, different embossed designs. A lot of times you would find these with advertising on them as well. Let's see if you can see the design on the cat. We'll pick it up. This is a very early Ronson, or Ronson Standard. Has a cool design where there's a little hook that catches the flint wheel to pull it forward, striking the flint. Little mini gun lighter. I put these two together because I thought it was interesting. This is a very early primitive lighter made out of steel with brass on the end. And then the technology has changed so much over the years that now we have plasma arc lighters. I'm sure you guys have seen these. Not really part of the collection, just here for perspective. Moving on to the second display case. This has more of my favorite style of lighter. Like the other one that was two individual lighters, this one is one central wick with a cap that screws off, or cap that I think this one pulls out, and two independent flint wheels. I like the redundancy of this. This was a military lighter made in the 40s with surplus aluminum from the aircraft industry. It's got a symbol on it. I believe this was U.S. troops stationed in Austria. This is one of the finer examples. I've got another one. You can see the emblem is a little chipped up. These caps always get lost, and it's a little more weathered. This one, I'm not surprised that somebody took good care of it. It's engraved in the back from ENC, December 25th, 1945. So, most likely a Christmas gift from one troop to another. Another style of that lighter with the two flints. This one has some engraving that I can't read, but it is dated 1943. If you can read that. Post a comment if you know what that means. But again, this one has the cap that unscrews. And then the two flint wheels. This is an interesting lighter in terms of the mechanism. The cap opens and then the flint wheel strikes horizontally. It needs a replacement wick, no big deal. Another interesting style, pull down on a little lever on the side. This has some advertising on it. This is a German-made lighter. This one here has a wheel that allows you to do some early flight calculations. Gun lighter, and then early lift arm lighters. This was an early Evans, the silver plate or nickel plated hammered finish here. In this third case, I've got another example of different styles of lighters. This would be considered a lady's purse lighter. Another lady's lighter with mother of pearl on an Evans lighter. This one was, this is a sterling silver lighter from Ronson called the Adonis. and it was engraved GC 1948 AM 100 Club, which I believe was a way to support soldiers and service members who were killed in the line of duty. So this obviously, meant something to somebody. I have another one of these that has, it's almost like a thank you for 25 years of service. This lighter is a side squeeze lighter that has a trap door. It's called the Colby lighter. I think Bing Crosby promoted this lighter, or he had ownership in the company. At one point, this was gold plated. Now it's just, basically it's raw brass made by Park Sherman, a lift arm lighter. An example of military trench art. This one, has a brass bolt, probably from some armament, and some, looks like a half penny and another foreign coin, which is, this is dated, 1944. So from the war effort. A gold-plated Dunhill lighter. This is a newer lighter. I think this was a graduation present for my father. Another lighter with a clock in it. I like this one because when you strike the lighter, it winds the watch. This is another example of a semi-automatic lighter. This one made by Thorens. You would unscrew this little button in the front, press it to strike the lighter. Swiss made. Another early lift arm lighter. Looks to be handmade, no maker's marks. This one I thought was interesting. This is from an Evans case lighter, but somebody actually cut the case off. You can see where they cut it off down here, and then they turned it into a pocket lighter. Kind of a cool effect. These are some Mexican silver lift arm lighters. Another example of a trench lighter here. This one was made by Bowers. When you open up the lighter, it pulls back the snuffer cap and creates a built-in windscreen. Good for use in the trenches. And then it has a chain where you could hang it from your watch. These are some novelty lighters. A little stop sign. When the battery was working, you would light the lighter and it would cycle through the 3 colors and stop on a random one each time, which I thought was interesting. My mom got this for me, I think from like a gas station in Florida. Just thought it was interesting. And that's kind of a cross section of my cigarette lighter collection. I do have some that didn't fit in these display cases, and for a little surprise, I'll show those off now. So I struggled with displaying lighters versus storing lighters, and I had been looking for some wooden flat files, and a colleague of mine turned me on to this set, which was posted on Craigslist, which I bought for basically no money, and put some of the overflow lighters in here. Now, it's not completely filled, but I'll show off some of the ones that are in here. So one of the ways that I learned about different cigarette lighters to look for was through older lighter books, and I created a little cigarette lighter book library here. It's a great resource. A lot of these call themselves price guides. I'd say eBay is really the best way to determine the current real world market value of any cigarette lighter, because that's the most anyone's willing to pay for it right there. That being said, these books are a great resource to learn about the history of cigarette lighters, this one in particular. This one was one of my first lighter books, and you can see on the back this double aluminum cigarette lighter, which is what inspired me to go actively search for those. This is a great book in terms of the different examples of cigarette lighters. This one, it's not really a resource for information, but it does have great pictures. The Zippo book here, obviously, it's a great resource for Zippo lighter collectors. I don't consider myself a Zippo lighter collector per se. That being said, I do have some, and I'll start to show off some of these lighters here. So this is the lighter infirmary, where lighters that are missing pieces, they go here until I can repair them. But the collection starts here. These are all music box lighters. When you strike them, some of them are overwound. Let's see if I can find a good example. They play this horrible little tune, kind of a haunted house type thing. Yikes. Some additional lighters with watches built in, other lift arm lighters. These are all made by Evans. Women's ladies lighters here. Some, different advertising here. This was for a bowling league. These are German lighters, military lighters, rope lighters that were used in the trenches where you wouldn't want a flame to give away your position. These would just glow red, hot enough to light your cigarette, and then you'd snuff it out with a little ball and chain there. Some more examples of early sort of primitive style lighters. These are BD jet lighters up here. They were good for lighting your pipe. This little brass tube here has the other end of the wick in it, and when you turned it sideways, it would heat up that tube. The fuel inside would explode, shoot out a little pinhole, and come right down. These are all Ronson Whirlwind. They had a little pop-up windscreen there when you need it. These are all aluminum lighters, mostly from the 50s, also made from surplus aluminum from the aircraft industry, another one of those double aluminum lighters, and a lighter that has one flint wheel but two wicks in there. Maybe that would be better for lighting a cigar. These are all Ronson Standard lighters, Ronson Princess lighters, knockoff Ronson Standard style lighters. This is some more one-off lighters. These are Ronsons. These are all different semi-automatic lighters and other Thorens. This is a Nassau lighter, prized by collectors, another push button, very early. This one's dated 1911. Most of these lighters I've purchased at flea markets for about $5 a piece on average. I consider myself an amateur lighter collector, mainly because I don't really have the time or resources to buy some of the museum quality pieces. That being said, there are some sort of unique ones in here. This one looks like a Zippo, but when you open it up, it has a little side press to light the wick. Interesting novelty lighters. This one is a belt buckle, but the front comes off and you can slide it up to light your cigarette. Kind of an interesting, discreet way to carry a cigarette lighter. One that has a roulette wheel, little camera. This one's interesting because it's solar powered. The parabolic mirror, when you point it at full sunlight, actually creates enough heat to light your cigarette, and it works pretty quick depending on how much sun you have. Another example of that double flint wheel lighter. This one's a little bit smaller. These are interesting Ronson pencil lighters. Usually when you find these, they were mint in the box, because a lot of times a cigarette lighter was given as a gift. This makes a great gift, but it wasn't very practical, so people kind of kept them in the box and didn't really use them very much. Little striker lighters. This was a display case. Another style of pipe lighter. You would open it up, strike it, and then you could draw the flame down to light your pipe. These are interesting because they have measuring tape built in. Maybe not the most practical. While I don't actively collect Zippos, they do sort of come across my path, and I buy them when the price is right. I probably haven't spent more than $15 on any of these. One in particular is a sterling silver Zippo from the 1950s. This was, I believe, owned by, well, this was owned by Richard K. Mellon, who I believe is the heir to the Carnegie Mellon banking institution. And I looked it up based on the year that this came out. He was from Pittsburgh. Zippos are as well. I believe that this was his cigarette lighter. So historically, a significant piece. A World War II black crackle lighter, also prized by Zippo collectors. I actually bought both. I bought this for $10 and this for $15. Typically, I'm not really going to talk about the value of cigarette lighters because, you know, it's just comes down to, you know, who's willing to pay for it. But I got these at a flea market on Cape Cod in the same day from 2 different sellers, so kind of a good day for picking up lighters. This one is a leather covered Zippo lighter, new in the box, so that is fairly collectible. This one here is made out of copper. I think it was only released in 2003 in solid copper, so collectors like those. This is an early one from, I believe, from the 40s. It's a 3-barrel hinge Zippo, and they call this the tall case, made out of nickel silver, and, you know, it has a different hole pattern, and the flint wheel has straight teeth versus the kind of the diamond cut teeth. These are all knockoff Zippos over here. Flat advertising lighters, small, you know, small format lighters. These are side press lighters. Scripto View lighters, they have different advertising. These are actually little tiny cigarette lighter cufflinks that my brother got me for my wedding. These are all butane lighters, novelty butane lighters and some older butane lighters, which I don't actively collect. But like I said, they just sort of come across my path. And some of these are funny, you know, a Hello Kitty cigarette lighter, a little typewriter. These are more table lighters, case lighters. I think I showed you an example of one where somebody cut the case off of the cigarette lighter, just retaining this top, the lighter portion of it. More of those silver-plated Bronson lighters, some large format kind of novelty cigarette lighters. There's more examples of table lighters. I don't have time to go through all of these. Let me know if there's any that you see that you want me to talk more about, if you want to post a comment. This is actually my first YouTube video, so I'm still trying to get the format down. More examples of table lighters down here. These were more novelty ones. This one, you know, you wind it up and he walks. And then just some overflow down here. When I got these flat files, they were just bare on the inside. I put some green felt because I thought it would look nice. But that is, that's my vintage lighter collection. Hope you like it.